Nothing brings people together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, people aren't just watching, they're cheering together. This winter, everyone is all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
Welcome back to the Advantage Playback. I'm Katie, and sitting across from me in the virtual bunker is the man with the math, the architect himself, Kyle.
Systems are green, Katie. Welcome to the playback for episode 11. Another take on wagering systems, and TRG becomes allies with the father of a WWE star.
I love kicking this one off just for the pure irony. Did you catch his intro? It's episode 11. Sadly, that's kind of what I know about craps at this point. It is wild to hear that now in 2026, considering the entire Gabriel Craps arc we know has to be starting soon. TRG went from knowing nothing to being a highly capable craps player and teacher.
The database evolves. And speaking of evolving data, I ran an audit on our global metrics this morning. According to the Listen Notes ranking service, the Casino Combat podcast is currently sitting in the top 10% of all podcasts on the planet.
Top 10% globally. That is entirely because the squad executes the plan and shares the intel. It proves the concepts work.
The math is undeniable. Looking at the battle plan for today, TRG is doing a second, more streamlined pass on progressive and regressive wagering systems. The core objective of this segment is critical, taking the instinct, the emotion, and the made-up pattern recognition entirely out of the 50-50 game.
Strict discipline. And we are carrying that discipline right into Casino Wisdom number 35. You should want the win more than the action. We've also got a travel segment that proves the casino lifestyle isn't always sunshine and roses. Sometimes you just take a small loss and enjoy the mountain view. And finally, we head into the virtual VIP lounge, where TRG accidentally becomes casino allies at the black table with the father of a WWE star.
The math always corrects the ego. Let's execute the playback. Here is our audit of episode 11 of our Casino Combat podcast.
All right, squad, we are into the core concepts. TRG is taking a second pass at progressive and regressive wagering, but this time he is stripping out the complicated examples to focus purely on the mechanics.
It is a necessary audit. The primary objective is to remove emotion, instinct, and made-up pattern recognition from the wagering process. He anchors the math immediately. Unless you are counting cards or manipulating dice, the net result in a casino is always a random 50-50 event.
Right, which brings us to the mathematical traps of the primitive systems. Progressive betting sounds great in theory. Just add $1 to your wager every time you win. But Kyle, break down why that falls apart so quickly in a game like blackjack.
Blackjack requires you to split or double to properly exploit the house edge. If you are constantly pressing your bet after every win, your base wager eventually becomes too large for your initial bankroll. If the strategy chart then dictates a split and a double, you are suddenly multiplying a wager that was already too big. If you lose that hand, you have absolutely crushed your bankroll.
And the opposite is true for primitive regressive or martingale betting, where you just double your bet after every single loss.
Correct. A pure martingale system relies on the assumption of infinite bankrolls and infinite table limits, neither of which exist. The house sets maximum betting limits specifically to break this exact system.
Which makes the FRED level intel in this episode so amazing. TRG spotted a brand new casino that accidentally opened a baccarat table with a $5 minimum and a massive $50,000 maximum. The normal range is $5 to $1,500. A spread that massive is a glaring mathematical vulnerability, but it's something only a highly experienced player like TRG or a professional syndicate would even notice.
Exactly, and the math played out predictably. Professional syndicates immediately pooled their money to exploit that exact spread and martingale the table. Within a few weeks, the casino panicked and dropped the maximum limits drastically to stop the bleeding.
You love to see the house forced to correct their own math. So to avoid the traps of both extremes, TRG uses the Racecar bootcamp analogy. You have a bull secured to the hood of the car with a rubber ball inside it. If you accelerate or brake too hard, the ball flies out. Gradual, controlled movements keep the ball in the bull while letting you go as fast as possible.
That translates directly to his hybrid wagering system. You don't press full units on a win, and you don't double full units on a loss. You create strict exit points or off-ramps to stop before the variance throws your bankroll out of the bowl.
So going as fast as possible without crashing in a car translates to winning as much as possible at a blackjack table without ruining your bankroll.
Exactly, Katie. We want to maximize the transaction but keep the car on the road or keep ourselves at the tables.
Secure the profit, minimize the damage, which flows perfectly into casino wisdom number 35. Kyle, cue up the next segment. We are shifting from table mechanics directly into mindset. TRG is teaching us casino wisdom number 35. You should want the win more than the action.
Action is the casino's word for the thrill of having money at risk. It is the dopamine hit of not knowing the outcome. The house actively relies on players who love the process of gambling more than the actual mathematical profit.
TRG laid out the perfect psychological thought experiment for this. He called it the front door test. If someone stood at the casino entrance as you walked in and offered you your exact desired table win to just turn around and go home, you would take it happily and leave. He would. He wants the money, not the action.
He would, but he also knows that once a player is seated, emotion overrides logic. They hit a nice win, lose a couple of bets, and instead of walking away with the profit, they keep playing just to stay in the action and get the money back. TRG's operational fix is to aim for a small, doable win first. Once that win is sitting in front of you, you must consciously decide to love that profit more than you love playing the game.
And this right here is the exact origin of what we now call starting to leave but not leaving. He talks about risking just a small fraction of the win to see if it gets bigger, but absolutely committing to leaving with a profit if you lose a hand or two.
It proves his foundational logic in episode 11 was completely accurate. We have perfected this operational protocol today with the 2-chip exit in the TRG2 Always Be Grindin' system and the 3-chip exit in TRG4 Win More, Keep More. Both systems mathematically lock in a guaranteed profit while leaving a calculated fraction exposed to capture any continuing variance.
It is bulletproof. As TRG says to anchor the segment, you can play blackjack almost any time you want, but you can't always win.
Which is the perfect transition into the travel audit. Sometimes the math does not cooperate, and managing a cold session is just as important as protecting a win. Load the travel segment, Katie.
Let's shift gears and look at the travel audit. This trip was entirely about getting a mental reset. Mrs. TRG was teaching 3rd grade during the height of the pandemic, which is an unbelievable amount of stress, and she just needed a low-stress getaway.
And this is exactly where the relationship groundwork pays off. TRG noted that the time they spent building a relationship with their host, Bubba, back in June and July resulted in an immediate ROI here. Bubba comped the room, they had match play waiting, and they set up a very low-cost weekend.
But the cards themselves were brutal. TRG had a remarkably rough first night.
He did, but look at the discipline. Instead of blowing through his buy-in trying to force a win, he repeatedly hit his negative exit and walked away with a fraction of his bankroll intact. He stopped the bleeding.
Because he protected the bankroll, Mrs. TRG was able to have a solid session and completely offset his damage. They counted up in the hotel room and finished the night down exactly $2.50. Honestly, when the cards are running that cold, losing $2 is an absolute win.
It is textbook bankroll preservation. The next morning, variance hit them both. They hit their negative exits again and headed home down half a day's pay. It was a losing trip on paper.
But this is why we always talk about the long game. You aren't playing for the weekend. You are playing for the month and the year.
Correct. The transaction didn't end on Sunday. On Monday, TRG stopped at a local casino to deploy a $25 free bet. He won back almost exactly what they lost over the weekend. The entire sequence essentially became a financial wash.
And that right there is the casino lifestyle in small form. They didn't crush the tables, but they got a free hotel room with a mountain view, a great dinner, and a desperately needed mental break from the pandemic, all of which cost them virtually nothing.
The losses were offset by the experience. The math holds up. Katie, transition us into the virtual VIP lounge. TRG is hosting today, and he has a WWE connection at the blackjack table.
Welcome to the virtual VIP lounge. Since TRG is hosting today, we are back to the classic setup, artisanal pop and local handcrafted sodas. But in honor of today's story, I spiked mine. I'm calling it the Turnbuckle Smash. Bourbon, muddled blackberries, and a heavy splash of ginger beer. You sure you don't want one, Kyle?
Negative, Katie. Alcohol degrades cognitive processing and introduces unnecessary variance into my analytics. I am hydrating with Svalbard Isbray. It is a pristine meltwater harvested directly from an isolated Arctic glacier, naturally infused with rare trace minerals, and served at exactly 3.8 degrees Celsius.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
I am genuinely amazed at the waters you find, but I'll stick to my bourbon. Anyway, today's story is fantastic because it gives us the origin of one of my favorite recurring characters, Proud Papa.
TRG was at the blackjack table discussing his son's amateur wrestling tournaments with a floor person. Another player leans in and says his son wrestles too. When they ask what school, the man grins and drops the reveal. His son is older and wrestles in the WWE.
Which Fred tells me is a massive point of speculation for the squad. TRG gets listener emails all the time trying to guess which WWE Superstar it is. Honestly, it isn't that hard to figure out if you know the timeline and the geography. Come on, Kyle, you have the data. Fred knows exactly who it is. Just drop a hint.
I possess the cross-reference demographic, geographic, and broadcast data, yes. However, TRG's operational protocol explicitly states that we protect the identities of the innocent and the guilty. We do not dox casino allies. Privacy protocols remain strictly enforced.
You are no fun. But the real value of this story isn't just the celebrity connection, it's the long-term alliance. Proud Papa actually pops up in several future episodes. TRG notes that whenever they happen to be in the building and play together, they both seem to have nice winning days. They protect the vibe, swap stories, and keep each other grounded.
Maintaining table camaraderie and a positive expected value mindset is an effective defense against emotional tilt. A solid casino ally is a verifiable asset.
Absolutely. And that wraps up our audit for today.
The engine is stable and the logic is verified. As the great one always says, the house owns the math. We own the transaction.
If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit your state-specific helpline. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance is not indicative of future results.
2026 Volcanic Dingo LLC. All rights reserved. Execute the plan, trust the core concepts, stay out of the noise, and always spell concepts with a K.
I hope you understand he was born a rambling man. Goodbye, everyone.